All right, so the panelists are going to come up. Okay, then I'm going to hand it to you and then. Yeah, do you want me to stand up here? Yeah, take my phone out of my pocket. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Lewis, and I'm the Vice Provost for Faculty and Academic Affairs, and also professor in the School of Kinesiology. On behalf of the Tucker Center for Research on Girls and Women in Sport, housed in the College of Education and Human Development in the School of Kinesiology at the University of Minnesota, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Fall Distinguished Lecture. Thank you all for coming. I had the privilege of serving as the director of the School of Kinesiology from 2017 to 2023 and witnessed firsthand the incredible work the Tucker Center does. The Tucker Center not only conducts research, but then implements the research into the community to directly impact women and girls in sport. The Tucker Center was established in 1993 with a generous gift from Dr. Dorothy Tucker, a 1945 graduate of the University of Minnesota in the School of Kinesiology. And the Tucker Center was founded by Dr. Mary Jo Kane, who was the first director until she retired in 2020. The Tucker Center is the first such interdisciplinary research center in the world established with a major research university. The Tucker Center has a threefold mission: to conduct solution-based research that impacts the lives of girls and women in sport contexts, to provide first-rate educational opportunities for both graduate and undergraduate students, and to engage in community outreach and public service. The Distinguished Lecture Series brings all parts of that mission together by creating a forum that allows the best and the brightest to share their insights, knowledge, and expertise on various aspects of women's involvement in sport and physical activity. Tonight's panel is no exception, as we will hear from a very unique group of women who have made a tremendous impact on the community. The Tucker Center advances the broader goals of the University of Minnesota and CEHD as an R1 research institution through cutting-edge research and direct impact on girls and women in sport. I just saw that the Minnesota State High School League and U.S. Club Soccer is partnering with Coaching Her, which was developed by the Tucker Center. This directly impacts individuals coaching girls in sport, and something I wish I had access to when I used to coach my daughter's soccer team. Our moderator for tonight's panel is Dr. Nicole Lavoie, director of the Tucker Center. She is a senior lecturer in the School of Kinesiology in the area of social and behavioral sciences. Dr. Lavoie is an internationally known scholar on gender, leadership, and women coaches who has published over 100 articles and book chapters across multiple disciplines. She's a distinguished teacher, best-selling author, regional Emmy winner, sought-after speaker, an award-winning athlete and coach, 3-time Hall of Fame inductee, and was named a 2023 Champion of Equality by the United States Tennis Association for her years of service. Currently, she serves on the Gatorade Women's Advisory Board and the Board of Trustees at her undergraduate alma mater, Gustavus Adolphus College. Dr. Lavoie has recently obtained multiple large grants that have allowed for the development of programs such as Coaching Her. Last year was the 11th year of publishing the Women in College Coaching Report Card, which has helped bring greater attention to women in coaching across the country. She is a passionate researcher who cares deeply about having an impact. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Lavoie.
It's a little conference with the panel. It's my team. So hello everyone. How is everyone tonight?
Great.
Awesome. Okay, the DLS, the Distinguished Lecture Series, which is a hard tongue twister, is a place where once a year we bring together the best and the brightest scholars and researchers and community members in a public space to talk about the issues that we in the Tucker Center care very deeply about, is impacting the lives of girls and women through sport. This lecture is really a unique time where we are in conversation not only with each other, but the community. So in our busy worlds, thank you for being here. And I know there's other things going on tonight across the river. And we will have the final game, the 5th game of the Lynx, in the lobby on our conclusion. So for the next hour, I just invite you to be present, create space for yourself, and to be here with us, and to join us in the lobby afterwards for the game and conversation and community and some refreshments. So thank you to so many of you here tonight that support our work, and those of you that will watch this recorded after the fact. We really appreciate that you use and acknowledge and support that we produce social good and the work for our own communities, and that you use that in your own communities. A very special thanks to the Tucker team. Some are in the audience, some are in the lobby who you saw, but specifically the graduate student Tucker team, Anna Gorovich, Kim Soltis, and Lindsay Hofer for their help in making this possible. Those of you that put on events, you know you cannot put on a good event by yourself. So thank you, Tucker team. If you're not in the room, you can hear me in the lobby. Okay. So tonight, you will hear from an amazing group of women who will share their insights from a collaborative, community-based, participatory research project with East African girls and women in the community and the numerous ways it has made community and industry impact. This body of work is an exemplar of how innovative research can create limitless ripples across increasing participation for girls in sport, to inspiring young women to pursue post-secondary education and beyond. And you will hear about these ripples tonight. So let's meet our panelists. First up, Muna Muhammad. Come to the stage, please. Muna is an award-winning, visionary entrepreneur and former semi-professional basketball player who founded Cowles, a company to address the lack of modest activewear for Muslim women. Muna holds degrees in exercise science and kinesiology. She is a Gopher alum, and she co-founded the Cedar Riverside Athletics and Enrichment Program and worked with Girls on the Run, Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx, and feels very passionate about empowering women and girls long before she founded her own company. So welcome, Muna. Okay, next up, Jennifer Weber, fondly known by most of us as Coach Weber, began her career as a special education early childhood care provider 30 years ago. For nearly half of her career, she worked in her Native American community as an educational advocate, and the other half has been as a highly respected and award-winning teacher, mentor, and coach in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood. You can say that Coach Weber is a fierce advocate for community opportunities, which will become very clear shortly. So welcome, Coach. Okay. Next up is Zubaida Chafi, a University of Minnesota alum who earned her bachelor's degree in business and marketing just last year. Currently, she serves as a career pathways coordinator at Pillsbury United Communities, helping high school students plan for life after graduation. You will hear how Zubaida's passion for sport and community and her involvement in a co-designed research project to help develop culturally sensitive sportswear for Muslim girls has significantly impacted her personally and professionally. Welcome, Zubaida. Okay, last but not least, my colleague, Dr. Chelsea Thule, who is an award-winning scholar and teacher on the topics of social justice and health equity, youth empowerment, and physical activity. She is a senior lecturer in the School of Kinesiology and an affiliated scholar in the Tucker Center. And you will hear how Chelsea's vision, passion, and commitment to inclusion and empowerment has impacted girls and women in the community. So welcome. Let's give all our panelists a warm welcome. Okay. So before we begin tonight, I think it's important to set the stage for how this body of work that you'll hear about tonight started. So I'm a big proponent of the origin story. So here is how this started. So in 2007,
Oh, hang on.
there
Got
we
it.
go, okay.
I'll get better as the night goes on.
In 2007, we produced the second of a series of research reports on developing physically active girls, which is a multidisciplinary research report. And there's a couple key things that we learned from this report. Number one, girls are less active than boys. Diverse populations of girls were the least active of all youth, which led to physical activity, led to health disparities. Little was known about the physical activity behaviors of racial ethnic subpopulations of girls, including East African girls, and that the girls' voices are essential in physical activity program development. Now, at the time, Dr. Thule was a graduate student in the Tucker Center, and she was around when we were producing this report. And we also knew that locally, these trends and what we knew from the data were very important in Minnesota, because Minnesota is home to a large population of East African, the East African community. So on the heels of the report, Chelsea and I received a grant from the Melpomene Institute for Women's Health Research and conducted the first ever study, to our knowledge, and we'll say it's the first ever until someone corrects us, but the first ever research study to explore East African adolescents girls' experiences with and beliefs about physical activity, as well as their suggestions for culturally relevant physical activity programming. So that's where this started. It started with a gap that we saw in the research and an opportunity to work with the community to help solve a problem to get more girls physically active. So that's the origin story, and the rest, as we like to say, is history. So, Chelsea, let's start with the research, since you were the one quarterbacking that line of research. What did we find?
Yeah, so this was a qualitative study where we did focus groups and semi-structured interviews with Somali and Ethiopian girls, all whom were practicing Muslim in the community. Before we even began the research, I built relationships for a year. So with community members, leaders, organizations, parents, girls in the community. It was really important within the Cedar Riverside community. There was a history of trauma with research to make sure that the community knew who I was, what we were hoping to explore and why, and to see if the community really supported and wanted this research. And if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have done this. So it was really important to build those true, authentic, and genuine relationships, and to make sure the community knew we were really committed to impact. So following through on the research and the suggestions we were hearing, that we weren't just going to do research, publish, and leave, that this would be a commitment. So we did develop those relationships and together conducted that research and found that girls were really interested in being active. They wanted to be active in a lot of ways. In the most body-revealing physical activity, swimming, tackle football, soccer, you name it, girls were interested. They wanted the option and the opportunity to be there doing it. They did express a variety of facilitators and barriers to physical activity, including parental concern over a lack of really private, female-only spaces. Girls at the time really wanted private, female-only spaces to uphold their religious and cultural norms of modesty. And they also talked about when those private spaces existed. At that time, a lot of them were going to the boys, and boys kind of taking over the space, either not being welcoming to girls in the space or sometimes kicking girls out. And so there was just a need for girls to have space to be active, and ultimately that was their suggestion. Female-only programming where they had that opportunity.
So out of that suggestion that came from listening to the voices of girls, what happened with that suggestion?
Yeah, so Somali American community members Fatima and Salma Hussein developed the Girls Program, which stood for the Girls Initiative in Recreation and Leisurely Sport. and it was housed in the Brian Cowles Center, which is right in the heart of the Cedar Riverside neighborhood among the Riverside apartment complex. And what's really unique about the Brian Cowles Center gym is that there aren't any windows, and it's a really guaranteed private space. So this was a really important starting point for girls to have the space that they needed and that parents would support for them to be active. But there were challenges, so we had the space 2 days a week for an hour a time. And a lot of the other time, again, even if it was like open gym, was sort of like boys' gym. So it was like a limited amount of time. We cherished it, but we'd sometimes show up and other community events would be going on or things like that. So it wasn't always our space. And there was also some challenge with support from boys in the community. You know, they were used to having the space and really loved activity too. So this is a resource situation where all youth want to be active, and there's limited resources and challenge there. So boys would bang on the doors or try to peer in. Girls would take their hijabs off, kind of put them in the cracks of the doors to ensure privacy. And over time, this improved, and you'll hear how much it's improved today. But this was sort of the landscape of the girls' program at the time, a good starting point. Also, a lot of women were coming, not as many girls, though little by little, as girls and parents heard about the space, more girls started to come, one of whom was Muna.
Yeah, so Muna, tell us your story, how you got involved with Chelsea and the program, and tell us where you come in. Did you turn it on?
Should be on now.
There you go.
How I met Chelsea, Dr. Chelsea, Dr. Thulrod, give your federal information, but I met her, I was part of her research study, and I think I met her when she was doing her graduate program under her research study when she was learning about mapping and talking to us as community members, and that's how I kind of met Chelsea, and she's been by my side since then. And then with Coach Weber, I grew up in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood, and then when I was about in 7th grade, my parents, we moved over to South St. Paul, out in the burbs, I used to call it, but we moved out over there. The town was really small. There was about 150 girls in my class, and I was the only Somali Black Muslim girl in my class. I didn't feel any different. I just knew that I wore the hijab, and I just wanted to be like every other kid. And then with the feeling of a small town, it was a lot different than how when I was growing up in Cedar Riverside, where everyone looked like you, your culture. I never felt like I was somewhere outside of my community. So when I went to South St. Paul, I definitely learned life outside of Cedar Riverside. And I was walking in the hallway, and my friend's uncle came up, and being 5'10", I never grew since then, but being 5'10" in middle school, he was like, "Do you play basketball?" And I was like, "No, what is basketball?" And then he was like, "Just come over." And I think that's when I started. I just came to school to learn, but decided to play basketball afterwards. And then I started learning, getting along with girls, and just that sense of belonging that you want being part of a team. But for me, it wasn't about basketball. I still came back to Cedar Riverside. I still came into the gym. I wanted to play basketball with girls who looked like me, but there wasn't a lot of young girls that were Muslim in the community playing basketball. So I just played with the boys, even though my mom and dad definitely disapproved. But I just wanted to play basketball. And then I would keep coming back to Brian Cowles was the only girl in the gym. And then I met Coach Weber, and that's where I think my level of basketball changed. I wanted to go from playing rec basketball to more competitive basketball, and I wanted to take it to the next level. And there wasn't that space in our neighborhood. And I think us coming together and forging powers and creating the program that Coach Weber will talk to you guys about is what kind of my origin story.
Love that. Thank you, Muna. So, Coach Weber, let's hear your origin story. How did you intersect with this group?
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. So I had been coaching varsity basketball, rec basketball, traveling basketball, volleyball, track, just you name it, I was coaching it. Some of it was crowd control, other was actual basketball and those types of skills, but sometimes it was just crowd control. And I got the opportunity to go back to college, and so I ended up at Augsburg University, and all you U of M people. I was nearby. Um, and so I ended up at Augsburg, and at Augsburg, I really found a home, but I was terribly missing being able to coach and being able to be in the gym. And so I heard about this program that was happening on Wednesday nights called Girls Program, and I started going there, and it was a lot of women, a lot of college students, women that were starting to get married and things like that. And then there was Muna. And she was one of the younger participants there at the time, and she just kept coming back, and she's like, Coach Weber, what about this? How about this? And so I just kept putting more information into her, and she was so easy to coach, and it was filling my need after all those years of coaching varsity and running programs and stuff, to be able to be in the gym with somebody that was so easy to coach and so in need. And then at the school, Cedar Riverside School was part of this. At the school where I was a teacher, I was asked to start sports programs. And I said, okay, how much does that pay? And they said, well, nothing for right now, but someday. It still doesn't pay anything. And so I was asked to start sports. I was asked to start sports for the boys. And I said, well, that fundamentally goes against everything that I've ever believed in my life. And I said, we'll see. And they said, well, the parents aren't going to let them play, and the girls don't really want to play anyway. And a week later, I had enough girls to start a basketball team. And so we started training and learning and just learning the fundamentals. We practiced outside. We practiced at the Brian Coyle gym. And it was a chance to start building out leagues. So we started with a league that just incorporated the school. And then Muna started coaching too, because I had coached her, and she was easy to coach. So then I'm like, okay, well, you can coach too, And so got her coaching, and so then pretty soon we had Brian Coyle versus the school, all in the same neighborhood. And then eventually Muna went to college, and then did not have the time to coach as well. And so we've been building coaches ever since. But yeah, so we went from training to forming leagues, and then into the traveling realm. But we didn't have anything to wear. And so as you can see, we made do with what we had. I did a lot of research online. I went onto every website. I looked, I emailed Nike because I had seen that they had tried to make some stuff, and I was like, okay, well, maybe Nike wants to help us out, and maybe I'll sew these in my spare time. That actually crossed my mind too, and I'm like, no, they'll look terrible. But what do we have them wear? And then uniforms really matter. It mattered to me, and it mattered to my daughter. It mattered to the girls that I was working with. And so they just wanted to be like everybody else and be able to be included. And they did not want to be in a gym locked in there anymore. They wanted to be out. They wanted to be able to go and be in spaces. And so this is our first iteration right here. We came to, there's some of you in this room. Throwback Tuesday. Yes, so this was our first iteration, our first attempt at it. But the school said, hey, wait a minute. We don't have insurance to cover all the girls from the neighborhood, all the boys from the neighborhood to be in this spot with you, and to be able to cover for the gym and all these different things. And so that's where the Sports Association was born, was out of that, is that it was insurance. It was a chance to be able to bring this not just to the kids at the school, but to the entire neighborhood, because we would come for games, and kids would come and say, where's my uniform? I'm better than that kid. I need to get on the court too. I need to be in the soccer game. But again, we were just looking for the uniforms and how we were going to make the girls be as comfortable as what the boys were.
Thanks, Coach Weber. So Muna and Coach, you're both coaching. Muna's off to college. Zubaydah, where do you enter the story here? Tell us your origin story.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. So it started when I was pretty young. I had like I have a lot of siblings, so basically, and a lot of boys, mostly boys. So we were really competitive, and I'm from Ethiopia, so like the Dibabe sisters, Bakala Garba, everybody, Sifan Hassan. So it just pushed me to be, I guess, competitive. Like we do sports. My parents would just take us to the park, and we would just do sports, and we would just play with each other all day and just, get messy, dirty with each other and all that. And then when I was 10, I ran like my first race and I got first place. And I was like, oh, I'm good at this actually. So, yeah. And then I just started playing. And then in middle school, I think I was like one of the only girls playing sports with the boys. And I played football, like during recess, I played football with the boys and just soccer, anything. So, but then there was no spot for me. Like, I didn't feel like, welcome as much in the schools because it was only meant for the boys, but I still joined in. So I started coming to Brian Coyle Center. Sorry. And then I met Muna. That's where I met Muna. I just came for like homework help and stuff, but I heard like she's coaching and she has a program. So I was like, oh, I'm interested. Let me hear more about it, So that's where it all started.
So what was your favorite part about being at the Brian Coyle Center, Zubaida?
My favorite part, I would say, is just being able to have that space that I didn't have at school or anywhere. I guess I know like at home I'm with my siblings, but it's not the same. Just being competitive with my friends and meeting the girls every day and being able to play with them.
Yeah. And Muna, what was your experience as a coach at this time in the Brian Coyle Center?
Honestly, if you can see a common theme that me and Zubaida had was like we were the only girls playing, and I was tired of hearing that narrative. And I think it takes a few brave ones to go outside and start playing for the rest to follow. So I just wanted to, not until I came to school at the university did I learn the impact of coaching and things like that. I just did what I had to do because it was just, I felt like I needed to be there to coach the girls, and it was a lot easier to connect with the parents. And in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just winged it. I just said, I'm the coach. Listen to me. Don't ask me to sub in. If you ask me to sub in, you're not playing. So over the years, I learned a lot, and I just wanted to be for the girls, and I think it developed from not being like Coach Mona, but like more of a bigger sister, and having that relationship. I have a show of hands. How many of you guys played sports? Keep them raised. How many had male coaches? How many had female coaches? Oh, wow. So my goal was like to be able to, when I was playing basketball, both softball and basketball, I had male coaches. And I realized the relationship between a male coach and a female coach can be a lot different than female coaches. So I just really wanted to not only be a female coach for the young girls, but also someone who understood their language, someone who understood their culture, someone they didn't have to explain, they have to go and pray, or someone that they didn't have to explain, have to be covered up. So it's like I was there and they didn't have to explain themselves and they were able to be like their authentic selves.
Two comments on that. So when you asked that question, all these athletes over here had their hands up because they've had a female coach. That's a ripple effect right there. And I think the other thing that stands out from Chelsea's research is the girls, they said the uniforms and the lack of culturally sensitive clothing was an issue, but the other issue was that the coaches from outside the community would come in, not understand who they were, not care, and then they'd be there a couple times and leave, which is very hurtful. So to have coaches that are same identity role models, really we know matters so much. Yeah. Okay, so we're at the Brian Coyle Center. We've done our first groundbreaking, first of its kind research study with the community, but there were still some gaps. So then what's happening?
Yeah, so I stayed involved with the girls program and Coach Weber and Muna's programming met Zubeda through that over the years, and just continued to be a volunteer participant. Anything, I would shake balls, I would defend, I would kind of whatever was needed, I was there and I was showing up, and I just loved it. But through that also heard the stories, heard the space needs, heard increased opportunity needs, heard continued clothing needs, and just this continued need for culturally sensitive clothing. And so at the time we decided that a next step would be generating more research, more understanding related to experience in the community around space, including clothing, to hopefully drive future outcomes. We needed more foundational research to be able to do that. And it just so happened that at the time, my dissertation was about to start. And so I talked with the community about, again, this need, and decided to focus research on the spatial experiences. So this was an innovative mixed method study where I worked with a cartographer, Bree Anderson, who's incredible, to do participatory mapping with the community, and then also focus groups to learn more about space. And we had a lot of findings in that study, but again, a couple key ones came back to just the need for girls to have more both female only, but also outdoors in competitive spaces, in parks, in their community space, options to be active. And to do that, they continued to say how critical, how important culturally sensitive clothes were, so that they could be active in ways that upheld their religious and cultural identity, but also that they could perform at the level they wanted. They didn't have to worry if they could do a between the legs dribble or not with a longer skirt. They didn't have to make a choice, and this came up pretty loud and clear. Like, didn't have to make a choice while running down the basketball court if a hijab was starting to fall off. Do you stop, lose the ball, give up your performance and play to maintain your cultural identity, or do you choose to fix your hijab and then lose the ball? It had to be a choice, and it just felt like that didn't, and not felt like, we knew it didn't have to be the way, that there was a solution.
And can I just jump in real quick, because Chelsea will not say this, but the research that Chelsea did with the community, for the community, by the community, is very unique. The multi-mixed methods, interviewing the community, listening to the community, showing up, going to basketball for years, engaging with the community, doing a mapping project, which was so cool, which you didn't really have time to go into, but the girls would say, these are the spaces where I am physically active. These are the spaces that I am not physically active, and why. And it was really interesting and telling, but using the data from the voices of the girls in that community to transform the physical activity programming. So I just want everyone to know that what they did together is really unique and should be celebrated. So can we just give her a hand?
It's all of you. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the next step in the research.
Yeah, so next, from there we had enough research to apply for a grant. So we were deciding next steps, how we're gonna do this, and we were like, well, we need an expert in design. I cannot sew a button, so was not me.
Coach Weber, were you gonna sew? No, all right.
So we needed an expert in design, and we went with Dr. Elizabeth Missy, affectionately Bai. So Missy, will you wave to everybody?
Yep.
We needed everybody to know who you are.
Yep.
Dr. Bai is a professor of apparel design over in the College of Design. At the time was the department chair, so exceptionally busy, and also just a great human being. And went in and we pitched this idea. You know, we feel like we could develop the first ever sport uniform for Muslim girls in the United States, yet to be developed, and activewear that could be used in any physical activity setting. Are you interested? Are you willing to work with us? And Missy, without blinking, was like, I'm in. Right then and there. And in fact, this is serendipity, I know of a grant, Minnesota Agricultural Experiment Station. There's this grant we can apply to, let's do it. And together we applied for that. to design the first ever, again, sport uniform and culturally sensitive activewear for Muslim girls in the United States collectively. And we knew with our leadership team that we needed to have community voice and girls' voices. This was a project with and for East African girls. So 4 girls from the community served on our leadership team as sort of the captains, with all girls who participated in the project. And that was really important for equity when it came to all phases of research, from the decision-making on the front end to implementation to dissemination, which is a really critical and marquee element of community-based research.
Yes. And it was so, as I was mentoring and advising Chelsea at this time, and I was learning so much watching her navigate this project. And one of the really cool things was engaging the girls in the project in community activities. So Coach Weber, can you explain a few of those activities that the girls got to engage in?
It was a big deal to understand that different sports have different body styles, have different needs. You know, if you're Serena Williams, you know, what muscles on your body is going to look different than the muscles on a marathon runner. And so to be able to go out and try different sports, and again, we were trying to get out of the neighborhood. I always say there's like a 30-foot wall around the Cedar Riverside neighborhood, and if you're on the outside looking in, you don't see it. But if you're on the inside trying to look out, it's definitely there. And so getting beyond those walls and being able to get out and have our girls be able to go, I mean, we just leaned on anybody we could. The gymnastics, we got a friend of mine, Miss Rosie, and she was the gymnastics coach out at Richfield at the time, so she invited us to come and hang out and do gymnastics. We were interesting to say the least, but we had a great time. We got to go to the University of Minnesota to go for women's basketball game. We cheered. We were the loudest people I think that I've ever been there. We really enjoyed it. We got to see different kinds of styles there, and what we wanted to kind of get the girls active, not just their bodies, but their minds active, to understand what this design part was, because, you know, it was what looks good on paper doesn't always look good on people, you know, and so we were trying to figure out what they did like. We actually went to see Nike came to town, and they were giving a speech about getting active, and she's an alum, and her name escapes me.
Susan
Sogolewski, yes, right? Yes?
Sobolewski,
Okay.
yep.
Yes. She came and spoke, and we got to talk to her afterwards, and I told her the funny story about how I had reached out to Nike because I wanted uniforms, and she kind of giggled that I thought I was going to get through. We went to the museum with Dr. Bai and her team to be able to look at I just remember the bloomers, like the swimming suits, what they used to look like in the 1920s, and how America used to be a very modest place. And the girls were just, what? That's what they used to wear, swimming? Oh my gosh, they couldn't believe that. So we got to see a lot of different apparel and have a lot of different experiences, including going to the fashion show. Because it was written into what we were going to do is we were going to have a fashion show. So in order to have an idea of what that would look like, we needed to go and see one. So we went the year before our fashion show. We got to go to the University of Minnesota, and we got dressed up. We put on makeup and fancy outfits, and we had a great time coming to the fashion show. Is forever a great memory that's embedded.
The fact that all these steps in this research project are documented visually with pictures that really tell the story is so fun to revisit this. So a lot of community engagement, a lot of different events for the girls, kind of opening their minds and their hearts and learning a lot. And then we went to the co-design process. So tell us about that part of the process, and then what happened once that was finished.
Yeah, I could talk about that. So basically after coming from the watching the show, the fashion show for the other people, we came back and we got right to designing the clothes, and we started like drawing picture. We started drawing out on papers, and you could see as we were putting this together yesterday, actually, Amal was sitting next to me, who's up there. She was drawing, and I was just like, wow, you're still at it. So, yeah, so we were outlining, drawing, and just getting things ready, and that's where it kind of started.
Okay. And so you mocked up some models, and then tell us what's happening here.
So we got to choose, and vividly, I remember not that much, but we were just going around and picking which one we liked the best and then putting stickers on.
And it was like a really cool opportunity for, well, the girls like to bring their designs on the wall and invite community members. So we invited parents, community members to come and see what the girls design, and also get an initial feedback from what they would like to see in the modest activewear and things like that. And it was really cool for the parents and the moms and the grandmothers to come and say, no, this one is too short. Or this one, you can see her leg. Like, it was just honest feedback of what you would hear from your mom or your grandmother or your father. And then the little sisters were there too. This project, we worked with adolescent girls, pre-adolescent girls, and Chelsea will talk about the other project later, but it was really cool to see the pre-adolescent girls kind of pink and sparkles and really interesting designs, and you'll see it come to life afterwards. But again, as we were talking about, it's really cool that this was a community-based research project, and in everything we did, from the girls designing to inviting the community members, they were a part of every step.
And this is where people were looking at all your designs and walking around and voting. Okay, so then we arrived at a few. Okay, so who wants to explain this slide?
Go ahead and do that. So this was what they came up with. The voting had come down to this. You can see the apron style that someone had seen on somebody else, and the cheerleader style, because we went to the Gopher game, so that was really important because they saw the pleats and the cheerleaders' skirts at the game, and they thought that might look cool. They were adding, of course, number 23. You know, it was Maya Moore at the time, though. Not that other player. Anyways, yeah. So it was. These were the designs that were chosen.
Okay. And so the paper dolls in the previous slide then came to life.
Yes, they
Yep.
came to life, and then the girls were able to model it and get more feedback from the community members on the design of it. And then what was really cool about it, when the girls came out, the mothers and the other community members were like, where's our designs? So it replicated to it being about the girls, and then everyone else wanting to do that. And then what was really cool is we asked at the meeting if there was extra budget, and we found out there was extra budget, and Coach Weber and I came together and was like, the young girls love basketball, so the original research was activewear, something that the girls can wear to the gym, can wear outside. And when we found out there was extra budget, me and Coach Weber put our heads together for sports uniforms for the girls to wear when we're traveling with them.
Okay. So the next step is where Dr. Bai's expertise comes in. So what's happening in the next step? We've got prototypes, we've tried some on, but now we have to make stuff.
Yeah, so after the prototypes and the community event with prototypes, the girls ultimately voted on the final design to move forward with activewear. And once that was voted on, and then also Coach Weber and Muna were creating that first ever sport uniform, it was time to produce. So Dr. Bai and her team, incredibly talented undergraduate, graduate students, worked with sewers from the local East African community. So we hired all sewers from the community, economic gain for the community. And as Dr. Bai is working with the team, also, at that time, we kept girls engaged and active in all sorts of sport events. We had the Minnesota Machine, our Minnesota Pro Tackle football team, come and run those tackle football camps that the girls were very excited about engaging in. We went to Fred Wells Education Center to play tennis. We went to go for sport events like go for women's softball game, et cetera, just to stay active, stay engaged. And I also want to note a really important partner that we had in this project was Masjid Shafi Cultural Center. They allowed us to set up our sewing production center in the mosque, and that was really important. The imam was incredibly, incredibly supportive, and that led to wide community support in this project, so incredible partnership.
Okay, so we've sewed the uniforms. There they are. Zubaydah, what is happening here now? What's the next step?
Than I expected, but this was us at the fashion show, and basically to present everything that we came up with. We got to do a fashion show, and over like 300 people came out. There was press conferences there. Important people from the community, like Mr. Behe, I don't know if he's here. Peggy Lucas was there. Everyone, and like just we were just the stars of the show that night. We just enjoyed ourselves, and I think it was the first time that first ever Muslim women's sports wear was out in America. So it was just, we enjoyed the night, and it was like one of the most unforgettable nights of our life, I would say. And yeah, we enjoyed it.
What do you think was like, what made it really like that moment for you, one of those life moments? What was so special about it?
Oh my God. It was like, it became so real. Like we were a part of we didn't realize how big of an impact it was until we were like there, and then everybody was so supportive. Like our community members, our parents were there, and they were just so proud of us. And the fact that we're at this age, we were doing such a thing, it was just like very, something that we are very proud of till today, yeah.
Yeah, as you should. Mm-hmm. So when this was happening, and you're doing the paper dolls and voting on prototypes, and now you have a uniform, you probably didn't realize, like, this is the first one of these ever in the whole world.
Yes.
So now we've got the uniform. So Coach, what happens after the fashion show?
Played a lot of basketball. Well, we were getting all kinds of interest from all over. People wanted us to start mass producing these because there was such a need. We had uniforms that now, depending on who you were, there was something for everybody. That we had the tunic style that the girls would wear. We had the ones for other teammates. A lot of the teams, they wanted that. They wanted to be able to add this to their uniform bag, because we always said with our basketball bag that we had something for everybody, so that you could be your true authentic self and play the game that you love at a high level. So there was a lot of outreach and stuff about how do we get these, and again, not from me because I'm not gonna sew them. So it's how do we do that, and that continues to be one of the barriers, is how do we make this possible, that every coach across the world could have exactly what they need, so that girls that are playing for them can be their true authentic selves and keep playing in the sport that they love. Whether because when we were looking, there was bikinis, so there was swimming wear and stuff, but that fabric does not work well for this sport. And again, this is basketball, but what about soccer, and what about the rest of the sports that we need the uniforms for?
And one of the I think, interesting elements about the uniforms that you're displaying is it wasn't just culturally relevant. It's like the girls on the team had different options depending on what they preferred. It wasn't one uniform for everybody, and I think that's something that anybody that has teams of girls can learn from, is to have all different outfits and uniforms for people to choose from. So thanks for showing and telling those early uniforms.
I think it's really important to be able to have that idea of something for everybody, that we get, and I think that's what comes from being a female coach, is I remember what that was like. You know, I'm going to show my age, but back in the 80s when I played sports, you know, we didn't have, I wore a lot of boys' uniforms too. You know, that was what was available for us. You know, I played baseball, and so I wore a boys' uniform all the time. And that didn't always make me feel comfortable, but that's what I needed to do in order to play the sport. And so to see that come to the next generation and to these young women and that just want to play, just let them play and let them be comfortable and be who they are. And so that's what really came from this, is that bigger discussion.
So on the slide here, you can see, as you mentioned, Zubaida, you're getting a lot of recognition locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. The phone's ringing off the hook. You all are fielding interviews. We're getting a lot of recognition for this project for lots of different reasons with different media outlets. And, you know, how did that feel to any, I'm just posing that to anybody. How did that feel?
Personally, for me, seeing myself, like there was the project generated over 40 news presses from local, around the world, and just the States and all that. So it was really great just to see myself on the news, and then I would run home. I did the news, and then I ran home. I would tell my parents, "Oh my God, look, I'm on TV, open the TV," you know? They were just like, "Oh, you're famous, okay." So yeah, if you guys want our autographs, we still live online, so it was good.
Yeah, and one of the ways that you all got recognized was at a Lynx game. And so, Zubaida, tell us about this night.
Yeah, so in addition to all the media paparazzis coming over to us, it kept getting better. So we got recognized at a live Lynx playoffs. And it was just an amazing time. We received several honors, and the coolest one by far is that we received a standing ovation at halftime. Everyone was we were proud of ourselves, just being there, and it was our first time being on the basketball court. We were just so happy to be there, and we had a really great time, and one of the most memorable parts of the project also, I would say.
And much deserved. So you're starting to see all the ripples now, from the media to the impact on the participants to the community to the multidisciplinary scholars to the community members. So Coach Weber, the culturally sensitive uniforms have come up a lot, but how did that influence the development of the Cedar Riverside athletics and enrichment?
Really gave us the opportunity to get out of the neighborhood. Now we were not just playing locally for just like leagues right here in the city. We were traveling out to the suburbs. We were further away from home, and that had its excitement to be past the 30-foot wall, and it also had its drawbacks and its comments that we would hear from the moms. We all know sports parents, right? And so we would hear comments about, don't they get hot in those hijabs, and don't, why do they get to have their jerseys untucked? Well, we all have to tuck them in. That's the first thing a referee says to get control of the game is everybody tuck in your jerseys. I have yet to see an injury. Maybe I need to do more research, but I've been doing this for 30 years and lots of untucked jerseys, and no one's ever lost a finger. I think that's what they think. Just your fingers are going to get caught in
Inshallah, it doesn't happen.
No, that will be the next thing that happens. So this really was the springboard for more of the girls to be able to play for their high school teams, which I'm very proud of these two women that played for their high school teams. So again, their coaches were reaching out to us and saying, hey, you know, we heard you got uniforms, but we didn't have them yet. But it was a chance for them to play and be their whole selves, to be able to travel. We opened doors that we didn't even know we were opening. And looking back now, I think that's, in preparing for this for the last month, it's been that we opened doors. These young women here and those young women up there, they're opening doors still to be able to continue this work. So traveling basketball was my dream for them because, of course, I'm a basketball coach and that's where my skills lie. But there was so much more that they wanted to do. So we have since made teams for volleyball and many other sports.
And it's not only what the girls wanted, but some of the other community members also wanted to get in on the action, which led to the next part of the research project. So Chelsea, you know, we always, in the Tucker Center, we always like, you know, we let the data tell the story. You know, what is the problem that we can solve with data? And this was such a great illustration of that, to see like, okay, we did with the girls, and now this led to the next step. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so as you heard, moms, daughters, grandmas, younger siblings, elementary school age girls were like, where's ours? Where are our apparel and our outfits so we can be active too in the ways we want out in the community? So we got back to the drawing board, wrote another grant, and this time a University of Minnesota Extension Block grant, which we also received as a team to do an intergenerational physical activity project with elementary aged girls, their moms, and their grandmas. And this project had 3 parts. So the first part was a physical activity program portion where girls, grandmas, moms were able to engage in physical activities that they wanted to, that they've maybe wanted to try, that they've heard about. It was a wide range from yoga to basketball to volleyball, you name the activity. I feel like we pretty much tried it in that 10-week span. We also partnered with Extension, and a colleague there came and did nutrition and culturally sensitive nutrition work with snacks and healthy meals in the community. And then the third part was the co-design portion that, again, Dr. Bai and her amazing team led. And there were few unique pieces. So most of the co-design was the same process, but 3 unique pieces. One was there wasn't a gallery walk because moms and grandmas were a part of this research from the beginning, though you'll see we certainly still celebrated with the community. You'll see that in a second. The second was that the moms, grandmas, and girls wanted to sew. They wanted to learn how to sew. So moms and grandmas sewed a portion of their apparel, and then the girls learned how to sew a drawstring bag. You can see the excitement up there of the girls' drawstring bag that they could keep their apparel in. And then the other element, as you mentioned, with the uniqueness, the individualization, we learned from the first project where it was one activewear essentially for everybody, that individuality really was important. And so you'll see moms, daughters, grandmas choosing their color of their outfit, their hijab style, their length, their tunic length, etc. So that was a step forward in this work. Oh, and I want to mention, I have to call it an important partner here. So People Center Clinics and Services, housed right in the Cedar Riverside community, provided all of the space right in the heart of the community for this project too.
And there was no gallery walk, but there was a celebration. So tell us about that, Coach.
Yeah, so we invited the entire community to come. They did a photo shoot with the, like, it was all laid out, and they got to get on the kind of the runway in their own way, but they were able to get all their pictures taken with their moms, and it was cool to be able to see the intergenerational, to be able to see the moms and the grandmoms, and then with the little girls' outfits, and just how much more advanced we were this time. You'll be able to see, like, we were learning too, you know. Look at how cute these outfits are. Come on now, like, they were just adorable, and we had the best models though too. They were very easy to dress, but the moms and that time together, that was what was really amazing, is for the girls to understand from their moms why all of this was important, and for the moms to hear and the grandmoms to hear from the girls about what they really wanted. And it was that time together that we spent that really put this into action. And all of the participants, they got to keep their outfits so that they would go and be physically active in their outfits, as well as a 6-month membership to the YWCA to be able to go and go back to the spaces where we had been. And then we just continue to do more field trips and opportunities after that so they could get out and really show off their activewear.
And then to piggyback on that, beautiful models. As you can see in the photo, it's like each girl got to be her unique self. Not every fit looked the same. So it was nice that each girl got to pick her own length, her own color. You know, not everyone wants pink, some wanted blue. So it was really unique to see both the young girls and the parents be able to really customize their own activewear and kind of see their own individuality shine in the fits they had.
And we also provided through the grant a pair of tennis shoes too for everybody in the project. So they also had that to go with their activewear to continue being active throughout.
And Muna, what specifically were your learnings from this project, or, you know, where are you in the journey of your career pathway at this point?
I swear, I'm not old, but like the timing, everything is like 10 years of work just feels like one. I don't know how to explain it. It's just everything blends in, and I feel like I was where I needed to be. So if you tell me what year, what was, I don't know, but I was there. But it was.
You definitely were there.
I was there.
Yeah,
I was there.
We know that. Fact.
And I started as an undergraduate student at Osberg, and I did exercise science there. And I learned, even when I was there doing my exercise science, I always felt different than the other students. Not because I was Muslim, not because I was black, but because all my peers wanted to become physical therapists or occupational therapists or doctors. But I was so passionate about physical activity and getting more girls into basketball. I didn't have the words for it. I didn't know there was a whole research center at the Tucker Center. I didn't know that Chelsea was leading great research, and I was just in the space doing what I needed to do. And I never once thought, my mom wanted me to be a doctor, but maybe I'll get my PhD to make her happy, so I could just be called doctor. But she really wanted me to be a doctor, but you know, there's like this idea that doctors, engineers, and just like any parents, like they want us to have a better life, to make money, to be able to be on our own. But I just kept going head on, basketball, basketball, basketball. Like I was breathing, living basketball, and decided to do my graduate program at the U of M with an emphasis in kinesiology. And that's where I was a RA, research assistant with Dr. Chelsea at the Mother and Daughter Project, and I was learning a lot. And finally, I was able to put what I wanted to do into what the education looked like. So it just didn't fall under the umbrella of the exercise science, but there was actually degrees specific for research when it comes to behavioral aspects of physical activity. And I really learned a lot, just coaching, burnout. There was a lot I learned that I knew it was there, but never had the words for it. And when I was thinking about doing my research study, similar, a lot of people were doing other unique like research, but I was like, I want to do something that is home to me. I want to be able to do research that matters. Hopefully there's no professors in here, but there's a lot about research that I think can change. And one thing I really wanted is I wanted to create a thesis that had an impact in the community that was able to be translated and that community members can read and that I'm able to understand. And I was like, hey, Chelsea, can I go ahead and do a research on the sports uniforms? I know there's like, you know, I coach the girls and I don't even like problems with that, but I still wanted to do my research. I wanted to talk to the girls and I wanted to learn how the sports uniforms impact their overall performance, their motivation, and just wanted to just talk to them. And I told them, yeah, I'm your coach, but I'm a researcher, so just let me know how you guys feel. And I really want to read a quote that the young girls said. One that really stuck out with me, even a few years later, was, I liked the way they looked, how it felt, the red and white ones. It was the ones we played basketball. They were really nice, and it felt really comfortable to be like modest and like, you know, there's a lot of likes, but being able to be like the other kids on the court and not be judged for what we are wearing instead of how we are playing. So it was really nice to be feeling like the same way as other kids do. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, like that just like encompasses how important the research project was and how the young girls really felt that they were able to be like every other kid and just play basketball. And I knew at that moment when I did, and I was going through the finding, even though it was a lot of work and there was a lot of going back. I know Dr. Bai was part of my thesis, but I was like, this is worthwhile. This is worth going all through the pains and the red marks and the feedbacks. And I just loved hearing back from these girls, and it was really nice to be able to do a purposeful research study. And like you said, Dr. Nicole, like I never knew there was community-based research project. And we are taught to think one way when it comes to getting our education, and to be able to come to the Tucker Center and to be able to learn that there's different ways of doing things was really cool, and it just made my studies a lot cooler.
Well, it was really fun to see your journey through this whole process. And, you know, every couple weeks, Chelsea and I would check in, and I'm like, how's it going? And she's like, okay, you know, this week we're going to write a new grant. Like, great, okay. And then the next week's like, now we're going to do that. I'm like, great. You know, now I'm like, oh, you're going to do that. Okay, you do that. And they just kept coming with these great ideas, and I just said, that's great. How can I support it? And you all did the hard work and the red marks and the drafts of the thesis and all of it, and it's rippling out. It's rippling out. So Zubaida, you also were at the U of M, go Gophs, Gopher alum. So tell us about why this is so important to you, this photo.
Okay. So yes, I was at the U, not as cool as my mentor, big sister Muna, but I was still getting I got the best out of it, I believe. I wanted to stay close to my community. I've always find myself coming back to the community. At the U of M, I was able to embrace my identity as an Oromo student, and just being the first in my family to go to college was something really big for me. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I had a lot of scholarships, like the Beat the Odds scholarships and Dell scholarship, everything. I just had so many mentors, and the opportunity was just there for me. I was living across the river, so it was. But I still wanted that, college life, so I decided to live on campus and enjoy my time. I joined student groups and clubs, and really it was just a time was had, Yeah, so it was really nice, and through that I was able to work with Mr. Amano and did research in the community. Somehow, like I told you, I keep coming back into the community even though I didn't want to go anywhere. So till this day, after graduating college, I'm still back in the community working for the community. So it's really been it was a fun time at the U, I would say.
Before we get to that slide, I think, Zubaida, you often forget, but a lot of the girls looked up to you, and she kept coming back, just like how I was coming back. I think a lot of the girls, when we were coaching you, always gravitated towards you. If you were in the gym, there was more girls in the gym. And what's really nice is like you could have went anywhere else, but you stayed within the community. You still came back, and I think that ripple effect of me being a basketball player, still coming back to my community, still staying at the Osberg and the U of M, you did the same, and now you're teaching the young girls and boys that what's life outside of basketball. I think we always get fixated at just focusing on the sport, but what you do great is that you're teaching on college career and what they want to do outside of playing sports, and that's what Zubaida does with the youth at Brian Coyle.
And yeah, amazing. So we can clearly hear and see the ripple effect that this project has had on Muna and Zubaida, but it was also having a ripple effect on the boys in the community. There's maybe an unintended benefit of the project. So Coach, tell us what's happening here.
So we went out of town for a tournament for the boys, and both Muna and I were coaching this is 16-year-olds, 16U boys traveling basketball program, and we had traveled to Kentucky as two female coaches, lead coaches. Now we're not anybody's assistant. We were doing the job, competing at a high level with amazing talent around the whole region. But we ended up in Kentucky, and when we go out of town, we don't just go to play basketball. That's our business trip. But we also have learning, because I'm a teacher. So we learn about geography, and we go to different places. And we ended up at the Muhammad Ali Center, which is an amazing museum. I highly encourage everybody to attend, in Louisville, Kentucky. And we were walking through the museum, and they were all celebrating boxing and Muhammad Ali and him becoming a Muslim and just all of these things. It was just a buzz. They were loving being in this museum. And one of the boys, his name was Akram, and he came running, like top speed, back to me and says, "Coach Weber, you have to come right now." And I'm like, what happened? What did they do? Because we're talking about boxing, and we got 16-year-old boys in a boxing museum. Anything is possible. And he's like, no, it's really great. You got to come and see it. So I come around the corner, and I see this. I see this work that we have done. Have no idea that it was there. That's not why we went there. We went there because we were on a field trip, and we needed to be able to learn something and attach it to the trip that we were on. And here, just, I love this picture because look at the faces on these boys. These are girls from their neighborhood. They were on the outside of the gym when we were doing this research, but here they are, fully immersed and so excited to be able to see the girls from their neighborhood being able to do what they're doing. They know they're coming, and to be honest, the first traveling basketball team we had was the girls' team because they went to their first tournament first because we got my favorite price free. We got free entry into a tournament. And so I got the girls into a tournament first before the boys. But here are the boys, and they are so excited for our girls that they are coming. They are going to go on trips like this too. They're going to be able to have these experiences. And so we truly were breaking barriers. And again, I always say that we had no idea about the impact that it was having. And not just on our girls, but on our boys, on our community, on the parents, we went from Muna not being honest with her family that she was playing these sports, to parents coming and asking me, how do I get my child into this? How do I get my girls over here? My boys are playing, I need my girls to play too. So these were all of these ripple effects that were happening.
I think we're going to see a few more ripples on the next slide too. Just give us a quick sound over on that.
Yeah, so the Mother-Daughter Project has turned into a mother-daughter retreat that we partner with Wilderness Inquiry. We went on our first experience last year, and we were able to take 16 of us went up to Lutzen, beautiful, October, stunning. Got to go with Zubaida and have this experience and be in that with her. And we got to take the moms and the daughters because we have a goal now, not just of getting outside the neighborhood, but getting more outside and getting more of those experiences. And what's more Minnesotan than going to Lutsen and going up the North Shore and seeing Gooseberry Falls and hiking the waterfalls and spending a day up by Grand Marais hiking around. And so that was amazing. We have volleyball teams now. So we have not just for our girls, but also, as you can see, there's Zebeda winning a championship because she's a really good volleyball player too. And we have adult volleyball. Anybody wants to come every Thursday night except for this Thursday. Otherwise, most Thursday nights from 6 to 8, we have adult volleyball, and it is organically turned into a co-ed experience, and Mr. Amano comes and plays with us. Lots of community members come and play, but it's been a place where no longer is the gym closed, and there is still programming on Wednesdays, so we have tougher program from 3 to 5, and it still remains that Wednesdays are girls only, and then girls program still operates from 6 to 8, but now we have more opportunities to play together, more opportunities to experience that, but now that the clothing is matching the needs of the women to be able to be active. You'll hear more about Calstoni and how Muna's making that all possible, but where aren't our girls? That's what our goal is. Where aren't they? Because that's where we're gonna take them next.
So let me just recap. We've gone from, a couple years prior to 1 or 2 hours in the gym only. That was disruptive. To now we're men and women and girls and boys are playing together in that gym.
And there are days that no men are allowed. So the Wednesdays, you will not see them. They know, they respect it. So
They're no longer banging at the door
No.
trying to get in and like, this
They've
is
learned.
ours.
The girls like to say NBA, no boys allowed.
Awesome. Okay, tell us about
Well,
this
this
as
led
a
to-
ripple.
We all have dreams, right? So I dreamed of basketball games and traveling and all of these different things. But what happened so magically this last summer is our newest team, and that is our dance team. So we have, are any of the members of the dance team here?
You want to give us a little show after?
Hey.
Talk about athletic. They raised money. They helped raise over $1,000 to have their outfits sewn again within the community. They were put together. They put on a dance performance, and these pictures are only in the gym at Brian Coyle, but they also have performed out at Cedar Fest for the entire community, and so we have to keep going back with that research. We have to keep researching through informal and formal ways of what do our girls want. We can't supersede what they want, and continuing that research is just asking what's next. And like I said, they were the catalyst behind this. Never in a million years did I think that I was going to add dance coach to my resume, but that's apparently happened now. So I'm just really proud of these girls and what they were able to accomplish and what comes next, because they have goals. They want to travel too.
Absolutely.
Can I also add that they just
Absolutely.
recently performed at the multicultural dinner in front of like nearly 500 people. So good job to you guys.
All right, team. And another ripple that Muna sort of alluded to before, Zubeda, that you're involved with is the fans. So tell us a little bit about how this co-design project has led you to influencing the next generation.
Yeah, so now my current job is working as a career pathways coordinator. As the fans facilitator with high school students at Brian Coyle Center. So FAN stands for Furthering Achievement Through a Network of Support. So once I had a conversation with Coach Weber, and I was like, Coach, how do you do it? I never have time to give back. You always give it back. And she's like, first you have to survive to serve your community, and like that always stood out to me because now like they were the glue for me. Coach Trevor and Muna, like they were always supportive for me and there for me whenever I needed them. So for me to when this position opened, Coach Trevor's like, you need to be here. You're the perfect person for this position. Like, you know all the kids, and they know you. It will just create foot traffic in the community, and it's been it's been a great year. This is my second year doing it right now, and I have work with over 30 students, helping them prepare for life after college. So after high school, we do resume building and networking, college tours, where me and my coworker Firdausa, we're taking them to Duluth next week, so to tour college. And then they also earn internship, they earn incentives and scholarships for being in the program. And you can see just from the picture how beautiful the students work with younger kids. They're always coming on time and working together and just learning something new, something that we don't have that in the community as much. So for just to be there and doing that, it makes me happy and I enjoy my job, I would say. So yeah, it's been great.
And I'm guessing, going back to a comment that Muna made earlier, when Zubaydah's in the gym, there's more girls in the gym. Now she's running this program, and the kids are coming. Is that right?
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how they're going to fund all the scholarships because now there's so many youth in the program. They don't know how. We're going to do more fundraisers because the program comes with scholarships, but
we have we have spot for 24 students, but 40 students in the program.
Yeah,
now,
it's growing, and we all are like, have you talked to Zubaydah and the fans program? What's the fans program? And so it's again that circle that we put together around our youth to be able to lift them up and to show them that there's another opportunity. And she talks about glue, but she's really been the glue all along.
Mm-hmm. I'm sensing that. Yeah. Okay, so if that's not enough, then Muna, we said she's a visionary entrepreneur, but that is an understatement. So Muna, tell us about, you're not only coaching, you're founding a company. So tell us about Calsoni.
Yes, I would have never thought I would have been an entrepreneur, but it's just, I think, organically happened. Calsoni, before I get to what the business is, but Calsoni in my language means confidence. My parents are originally from Somalia. So when I was choosing the name, it took me about 2 years. Originally, it was MI Active, standing for Muna Iman Active. I was like, no one knows who you are, so let's change it. And then change to Madison Active. And then I realized everything that I did in life, whether it's play basketball or go to school or coach the girls, there was a sense of confidence. And no matter who you are, I feel like if you lack that sense of confidence, you'll pull away from doing things. So I wanted to ensure that the business name, even if some people can't pronounce it, I wanted to be able to have a meaning to it. I wanted that women and girls to be confident in who they are and what they wear, what they do from playing basketball or walking or swimming. And the ripple effect, I honestly think, I don't think I would be here today if I wasn't part of the research project, because I don't think I would have understood what community-based research is, what is community-based design, what it truly means listening to the community and their voices. A lot of fashion designers design for themselves, but it was really cool to design for the community and really hear from their needs. And I was like, hey, you guys, if it's okay, can I have a business idea to really continue to grow the brand? And I entered the Minnesota Cup. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. The Carlson School of Management, there's a lot of scary people in here, but I was like a kinesiology student entering a world that I have no idea, no clue of what it was, but I had a story, I had a vision, and that's what I pitched. And I was lucky to be the finalist for the student division. I didn't win, but that's okay because I feel like as an athlete, we don't win. You have to lose to win the war. So I continued pushing myself. I was like, is that it? They don't want me. They don't want me winning the Minnesota Cup. So what's next? So I Googled a lot of things and just. If you guys are any students in the room, if you're ever interested in business or any of that sort, there's a lot of resources in Minnesota. Y'all are lucky you have Google. You just kind of look at research and just Google grants and things like that. And there's a lot that supports young entrepreneurs. And I found the Target Incubator. I didn't know I was going to get accepted. Only 8 companies got accepted nationally. I went for it, and when I was pitching this, I was like, just stay true to yourself, tell the story, and just tell why it was important. And you see a lot of brands coming about right now about their brand story and pitching that rather than the product. So that's what I did, and it just grew from there, from being part of that, now being sold at REI in Minnesota. I was part of the Tory Burch Foundation. Thank you. And I was telling my mom, I got money to run a business, and she's like, stop stealing the government. I was like, Mom, no, there's free money out there to support small businesses. I'm not stealing. So she's learning a lot, and I think finally, after she's seeing, like, it's been a battle between her telling me not to play basketball. My dad was very supportive, and I think him having all daughters and being a daughter's dad, he didn't care. He took us to the Y. I think I saw Jonathan in here. I used to see him every day at the Y when I was like 12, 13, 14, coming in with my dad. And it's so cool to see familiar faces. And he would always take us. And my mom was like, why are you taking the daughters? And he's like, they're just in the corner sitting, but we were playing basketball with the boys. But finally, she's like seeing the vision and the importance, and when she sees other people coming into, she has a shop herself and I have the products in there, she's like, oh wow, can I be your business partner now? So I think she's finally seeing the vision. And what's really cool about this is like the young girls, when they go to the mother-daughter trip, they're actually wearing the activewear. A lot of the women, young girls, are out there being active, being themselves, and just having access to culturally inclusive modest wear. And with the business, one thing that I learned is like, it's not only Muslim women that want modest clothing. And when I was talking to our REI partners, we learned that like Muslim women are not the only customers. There's a lot of different women coming in, older women who like to travel, and if you don't know what modest activewear is, hopefully we didn't explain it. It's just people looking for more loose fit clothing, long sleeves, just more coverage, full coverage activewear. And if you ever go to the women's section, it's like there's a cute dress, but there's a slit in the back, or there's a slit in the corner, or it's sleeveless. So it's like
Or it's up here.
Exactly, crop top, right? So it's just some women like to cover up, and I think the fashion industry and the sports industry should be able to be inclusive to anyone, regardless of coverage. I learned a lot that what I'm doing is bigger than just like my community, and that we need more inclusive. We need more inclusive activewear for folks. So yeah.
Well, it's been fun to watch your journey through this, and you're not done. So tell us about what Cowlesonia has unlocked for some people in the community.
Yeah, and that I'll quickly say these 2 photos. The bottom corner is a part of Jamad Basketball Camp, which is a good friend of mine who combined between Instagram and TikTok, she has like 4.2 million followers, and she does a lot of content with Muslim girls in basketball. And I was able to coach with her internationally. Just came back from Sweden. A lot of talented girls out there, so I have the opportunity to travel with her and coach outside of the Cedar Riverside neighborhood. And in this photo, we were able to get all the girls our sports hijabs from Cowles. So it was really cool to gift the girls. And I got a call, and someone was like, hey, do you want to coach the Minnesota women's national team? Not Minnesota, sorry. Somali women's, Minnesota's always stuck in my head. I need to go. But the Somali national women's team, and I think they saw the work that I do within the community in Cowles. And it was really cool to get that opportunity to potentially coach for the country where my parents came from. But was locked in Colsoni, did not take the job, but maybe in the future, but just being recognized for the work that I do.
Okay, so we go from international back to Minnesota and our own history center.
Yeah, so about a year, 2 years ago now, I think it was, Minnesota History Center contacted us and asked if our team would be willing to provide a full set of this first ever sport uniform for Muslim girls in the U.S. as part of their permanent collection. So we'll forever live on here in Minnesota. We're really excited, really honored by this. So that's our display at the Minnesota History Center. And then along with that, right now there's an exhibit, a Smithsonian exhibit, Girlhood, It's Complicated. It's through June 1st. And our work is also featured in this Smithsonian exhibit. So multiple ways, shameless plugs, for you to go check out some of the work and that permanent collection at the Minnesota History Center.
Absolutely. And I would invite some of you in the audience, I know, have been to this exhibit, but yes, it runs through June and you can go and see it. And so the foundation of all this work at the Tucker Center, we're a research center. So it's not just doing good in the community, but backing it up with evidence-based research, multiple different ways, multiple different data sets, the voices, the interviews, the focus groups, the theses, the publications, the book chapters. So there is a body of work that underpins this in terms of research that we wanted to make sure. And what I love about this list is, for those of you who are steeped in the academy and you're pressured to be like, you must publish single authorship because that is the gold standard, there's none of that on this list, or very little of it. And the reason why is it's collaborative, it's community-based, everybody's voices are heard, and that is intentional. So that's just an FYI. And then the team wanted to just make sure there's a lot, you heard a lot of entities and partners and people, and so many people involved in this work that we and the group wanted to thank.
Yeah, I think a few in the audience, Amano, thank you for your support over the years endlessly through Brian Coyle Center and all that you do in the community. Regent Peggy Lucas, you have been former, you'll forever be a regent in my heart. So but former Regent Peggy Lucas, you were an endless supporter, have remained an endless supporter for us. So thank you so much. Senator Carrie Diesdick couldn't be here tonight, but she's been instrumental from the beginning in championing our work through this day and all of the work that you continue to do in the community. So those are some of the names. And then, of course, the girls, now women in the audience who were a big part of all of the steps along the way. Thank you, and Dr. Bai could not have done it without you.
Yep. So you can see and hear and feel so many ripples that came from one idea when we were sitting around in the Tucker Center talking about the Tucker Center research report and how we could leverage that report to make a difference in our own community. And from that one idea, there's so many ripples, and we didn't even get to all of them. This is just some of the impact of this work together in the community. So I think that when we look at solving social problems, a collaborative approach to addressing that through collaboration and trust and patience and time and listening and coalition building and with and by the community, you can see the magic and the impact that it makes. So thank you for being here tonight and for sharing this journey with us, and kudos to you and your colleagues in the community. The great thing about the ripple, it just keeps on going. So 10 years from now, we can come back on stage, Coach, and tell everybody for the ripples. So let's give this team a big. Okay. So if you're in the audience and you want to get a hold of any of them because you have questions or comments or you want to network, they wanted to give, so you can take a picture of that, or those who are watching at home later, this is the contact info for the team. And what we'd like to do now is, I know we've ran a little over, so let's take 2 questions. Okay? And so if we can get the mic runners down, and I'm going to have Coach Weber and Zubaydah, if you just want to pass your mic to the Tucker team, Kim and Anna, to take a few questions. So what did this evoke for you, or what questions do you have? I have about 1,000, but I'm going to be quiet.
All the work that you did, it's fantastic, and it is exciting to listen to. My question had to do with the sports as they evolved. They started out, you played basketball, and then as it grew, were the girls making the choices on what sports they wanted to play, or was it based on space? And as it has continued to grow, are they choosing them on their own? Are they trying to gather groups and choosing a sport like dance? Or is it again about space? And are you having space issues as gyms are not, in space outside are not great? And then as it continues and grows, how would you see another community be able to do something like this? What would be a good way to start and going forward to other communities?
I could take the first part of that, and then somebody else can think about the second half of that question. Good question. So always as the girls are at the center of the decision making, space is a concern, but it's not a barrier. That's what the outfits and the active wear gave us, is it gave us the mobility to go other places and to find other resources for space. So it's really about what do the girls want to do, and how can we get them the caring adults, the circle of support, and build more coaches. Right now, I think we could field probably 3. Right now we're fielding 2 volleyball teams, but I think we could even go a step further. One of the things that we are still needing is the gym renovation. Through things that have happened over the years, like basketball hoops got taken down. We just got volleyball back. It was there when I first started, and then the floor got redone, and then volleyball was left out. So it's the equipment, it's the spaces, right now we have 2 basketball hoops that are actually at 10 foot in the gym. We need 2 on either side yet. I keep telling anybody that listen, I need to raise $75,000, and then I can get the gym exactly the way we need it. It's because there's Dukesy for the kids, and that happens on the weekends. And that's also a time when almost all sports happen. And so the idea is that if we had the gym renovated to be able to have sports during the week, we could do it in the evenings and run our own. We have enough kids, we just don't have the space there to be able to run 2 courts because we only have 2 baskets on either end. We have volleyball now, 2 courts, which makes it much easier to do. So so we can go other places, but then it becomes transportation. So fixing the gym is still, goal. Because we can go places, but now we have to be able to have the spaces to train during the week so that we don't have to, at the younger ages, leave the neighborhood and go other places yet, because they need to go to Dukesy, they need to go to their Islamic study classes and be able to be their whole selves that way too. Faith, family, education, and then whatever they're wanting to do next.
For the second part of the question, I'll make it quick. I think, Coach Weber, you deserve your flowers too. I think if Coach wasn't here, when we started our program, none of us got paid. For 10 years, we still, till this day, we don't get paid. And I think it takes people like her, people like me, people like Zubaida, who are continuously coming without getting anything in return. I think you need that key person who, if, like you said, how do we replicate this? I think what's key is that we have a solid foundation of mentors and coaches who are there, regardless of what they get in return. So I think you need a solid person or 2, 3, hopefully, that are willing to stay and be willing to do that hard work commitment over. You may not have them for 10 years, but even if they build that foundation for the first 5 years, I think that's like really what's key. And all of us have a very strong relationship with the kids, the parents, the coaches, everyone in the community. Even if there's a kid that doesn't know me, they're like, oh, you're Coach Mona? I've heard about you. So it's just being able to have that foundation. And then secondly, like if you're working with someone who may not be of your community, having a representation there that is able to speak the language or the culture or just like be aware, and lots of patience. Lots of patience. Yeah. Hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, I think that to replicate this, we'd have to replicate Coach Weber and Muna and Zubaida and Chelsea. I think the selfless and courageous and patient and hard work that all of you put in is really evident, and that's not easily replicable. So I don't know if this is replicable, but if it is, these people will figure it out. Okay, so I want to be attentive to time, so I'm going to cut the questions there. We're going to have a group picture of any girls or women or people that have been involved in this project. We want to take a group photo on the stage together, and then we're going to convene in the lobby for some snacks and watch the Lynx game. So thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thanks, everybody.